At exactly 6:30 every morning, the same eerie scene unfolded. A little girl, barely 7, walked down the quiet street holding 8 leashes in her tiny hands. 8 huge German shepherds surrounded her, perfectly silent, perfectly synchronized. They didn't bark. They didn't pull. They just watched. Neighbors whispered behind curtains, unsure whether to be amazed or afraid. How could a child control such powerful animals? Some said she was gifted. Others said she was cursed. But one morning, the girl didn't appear, and the dogs were gone too. That night, a faint light flickered deep in the forest behind her house. When someone went looking, what they found buried there revealed the truth. She wasn't walking her dogs. She was protecting something far more dangerous. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Every morning, just as the sun began to rise, the quiet town of Willow Creek would pause. Cars slowed, curtains lifted, and whispers spread along the street. A little girl in a bright pink coat, no older than 7, stepped out from her small brick house, holding 8 leashes in her tiny hands. 8 towering German shepherds surrounded her, their paws moving in perfect rhythm, their eyes sharp and alert. The strange part wasn't just the sight, it was the silence. The dogs never barked, never tugged, never broke formation. Her name was Lila. No one knew much about her. She never spoke to anyone beyond a polite nod or a small smile. Every morning at exactly 6:30, she'd walk the same route, past the bakery, across the park, and down toward the old road leading to the woods. People began setting their clocks by her routine. Children waved, adults stared, and yet no one dared to approach too closely. There was something in those dogs' eyes, intelligent, watchful, almost human. When Lila passed, it felt like a secret moving through town. No one understood how a small girl could control such power so effortlessly. But soon they would realize she wasn't walking them. They were guarding her. As days turned into weeks, Lila and her dogs became the town's quiet obsession. At cafes, people whispered theories over steaming cups of coffee. Her family must train police dogs, someone said. No, argued another. I heard her father worked in a lab before he disappeared. The mystery only deepened when strange coincidences began to surface. One man swore the dogs had saved him from a car accident, claiming they barked seconds before a vehicle spun out of control, giving him just enough time to jump aside. Others said the dogs sensed danger before it happened. Among the onlookers was Daniel Hart, a local journalist who had recently moved to town. He watched from his porch every morning, intrigued by the girl's quiet confidence. Something about her calm presence among those powerful dogs didn't feel normal. It felt rehearsed. One morning, curiosity won. He followed her at a distance, notebook in hand, camera slung over his shoulder. At the same corner each day, the dogs would pause in perfect sync, their gaze fixed toward the same dark patch of forest beyond the road. Lila always whispered something before they continued. Daniel noticed it, soft words, rhythmic, almost like a code. He jotted down one chilling thought in his notebook. They're not walking the forest, they're guarding it. That night, Willow Creek fell under an eerie silence. A winter storm rolled in, heavy clouds swallowing the moon, and a sudden power outage plunged the entire neighborhood into darkness. The streetlights flickered once, then died. From his window, Daniel noticed movement outside, the faint glow of 8 pairs of eyes glinting in the dark. The German shepherds stood in formation at the edge of the road, motionless, their attention fixed on the forest. Then, as if obeying a silent command, they began to bark in perfect unison. Deep, rhythmic, and haunting. Daniel grabbed his coat and camera, heart pounding. When he stepped outside, he saw a small figure rushing past, the little girl, barefoot in her pink coat, running toward the woods. The dog surrounded her instantly, forming a tight circle as she whispered words he couldn't understand. The moment she spoke, the wind seemed to stop. The forest, moments ago alive with noise, went dead still. Driven by instinct, Daniel followed quietly, his flashlight barely cutting through the mist. Deeper and deeper they went until he saw something that made him freeze. In a small clearing, the earth beneath the dogs glowed faintly blue as if light pulsed from underground. Lila stood in the center, her hand raised toward the soil, whispering, "Stay asleep." Daniel's breath caught. He wasn't watching a routine anymore. He was watching a ritual. The next morning, Daniel arrived early, waiting near the path where Lila usually walked. The sun rose slow and pale, glinting off the dew-soaked grass. When she appeared with her dogs, they stopped the moment they saw him. 8 pairs of amber eyes locked onto him in silent warning. "I saw you last night," Daniel said gently. "I saw the light. In the forest." Lila's small hands tightened around the leashes. For a long moment she said nothing. Then in a quiet voice she whispered, "You shouldn't have followed." Her words weren't a threat, they were a plea. Slowly she looked up at him. "My father, he made them." "All of them," Daniel frowned. "Made them?" Lila nodded. "He was a scientist, he worked for a government program. They said he was trying to create perfect rescue dogs, but it was more than that. He found a way to connect minds." She led Daniel toward the forest, the dogs surrounding her like soldiers. Beneath the old oak roots, a metal hatch lay hidden under soil and leaves. She knelt and brushed it off. The hatch creaked open, revealing a dimly lit underground lab, dusty, forgotten. Screens flickered weakly, one still glowing with an old message. "Protect her at all costs." Daniel's chest tightened. "Protect who?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Lila looked up, her voice trembling. "Me, and the secret he buried down there." Daniel stepped inside the hidden lab, his flashlight beam cutting through the thick dust. Broken computers lined the walls, their screens filled with static and fading blue light. Old notes littered the tables, sketches of dog neural structures, handwritten formulas, and fragments of voice logs. Lila followed quietly, her dogs guarding the entrance. "My father said they'd protect me when he was gone," she whispered. "I didn't believe him, until they started speaking." Daniel froze. "Speaking?" She nodded slowly, not with words, through feelings, through memories. She pointed toward a corner where a capsule, half buried in dirt, hummed faintly. That's where he stored everything, his research, his thoughts, his memories. He connected himself to them before he died. Suddenly, one of the computers flickered to life. A grainy video appeared. Lila's father, his voice weak but calm. "If you're seeing this," he said, "it means they've found her. These dogs are my legacy. 8 fragments of my consciousness bound to protect my daughter and what lies beneath." Daniel's heart pounded. "You're saying your father's mind is inside them?" Lila nodded, tears brimming. "That's why they know things before they happen. They sense danger because they remember." A deep growl rumbled from the tunnel behind them. The dogs turned, alert, forming a defensive wall around Lila. Daniel's instincts screamed. The secret wasn't hidden anymore. Someone else was already here. The growl deepened. Flashlights flickered in the tunnel, voices shouting orders. "Search every corner. Find the girl." Agents flooded into the forest lab, their boots pounding against the metal floor. Daniel's pulse raced. "They're here for the technology," he whispered. Lila's eyes filled with fear, but her dogs stood unflinching, surrounding her in a perfect circle. One agent stepped forward, shouting, "Step away from the child!" Before he could reach her, the dogs moved as one, silent, swift, unyielding. The air buzzed, the ground beneath them glowing faintly blue once again. "Stop!" Daniel yelled, shielding his eyes as light burst from the capsule. A surge of energy rippled outward, cutting every power source in the area. When the light faded, the lab was empty. No girl, no dogs, only silence. Weeks later, travelers in a distant town claimed to see her. Lila, walking 8 dogs at dawn, calm and quiet, just as before. Daniel never published his story. He titled his final journal entry, "The Promise of the Shepherds." In it, he wrote, "Some secrets aren't meant to be kept by men, but guarded by loyalty that never dies." And somewhere, under a rising sun, 8 shadows still walked beside a little girl who wasn't just a mystery, but a legacy.